What the hell is your delay, Captain?
We're waiting, sir.
Waiting for what?
Private Doss.
Who the hell is Private Doss?
I always dreamed about being a doctor, but didn't get much school. I can't stay here while all them go fight for me.
But you figure this war is just going to fit in with your ideas?
While everybody else is taking life, I'm gonna be saving it. And that's gonna be my way to serve.
This is a personal gift from the United States government designed to bring death to the enemy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sergeant. I can't touch a gun.
You don't kill.
No, sir.
You know, quite a bit of killing does occur in war.
Private Doss does not believe in violence. Do not look to him to save you on the battlefield.
I don't think this is a question of religion. I think this is cowardice.
I fell in love with you because you weren't like anyone else. You're saying you could go to prison.
But I don't know how I'm gonna live with myself if I don't stay true to what I believe. With the world so set on tearing itself apart, doesn't seem like such a bad thing to me to want to put a little bit of it back together.
Private Doss, you are free to run into the hellfire of battle without a single weapon to protect yourself.
I'm gonna get you home.
There's something you gotta see.
Who did this?
That's the card.
We have to go back up tomorrow. And they're not gonna go up there without you. Help me. You'll have to trust me.
You better come home to me.
Please, Lord, help me get one more. Help me get one more.
It is such an honor to have this cast here. Well, this cast and this director who brought a film to life that, first of all, 93% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Thank you very much.
That's not so bad.
Not so bad. I want to open up, before we even get to the topic of the film and what captured you, Vince, your character comes up with some great nicknames as a sergeant. What is your nickname for the beard?
For Mel's beard? The beard does not have his own unique nickname at this point. Well, although it's an impressive beard.
It's very impressive.
We haven't designed
I
a
think
nickname.
we should call him something like Roadkill or
Roadkill. Roadkill would be a good name.
So guys, let me start with Mel, actually. What about this story captivated you? And this is a true story. This guy won the Purple Heart among many other medals. And when you read about him, it's sensational that he's a real person. This really happened.
Oh, he's a real deal. He's a medal. He received the Medal of Honor, which is the highest medal you can get for heroism. And he was indeed what I think, when I read this story, it's like the pinnacle of heroism. I mean, here's a man who was a conscientious objector, would not take another life, would not even touch a rifle, crawling into the epicenter of hell on earth and saving other people. I mean, wow, there's no higher calling than that.
How did you get this cast together, starting with Andrew?
Well, let me talk about Andrew for a minute. He did a phenomenal job.
I mean, he's in every scene of the movie, basically.
Yeah, he blew my mind. He inhabited this character. I mean, there was real material to draw from. He went and visited his farm, and he never met the man, but he studied hard, and I think somehow he became that man, or that man became him. Whatever he left behind, Andrew managed to grab onto that and do something truly extraordinary.
What was it that you saw? What did you see, a movie? Did you meet him and think this could be Desmond?
I had the story. I had salty tears on page 54, and I heard Andrew.
Salty tears, I
Yeah,
love it.
I mean,
good descriptor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the pages were all salty. But Andrew happened to have read it around the same time. And of course, I was familiar with his work, like in The Social Network. And he's able to convey a lot with nothing. He doesn't need to talk. He's a very soulful actor. And you can see his thoughts. He conveys much without words. I think all these actors, Vince and oh my God, I've been talking so long I can't remember anyone's name. Luke, as well, convey Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. But they're all like that. I'm drawn to actors like that who can convey much with little.
And Luke, your scenes with Desmond are so integral to the film. How did you guys establish that rapport?
I don't know. Meeting Andrew, he's such a good bloke, straight up and down. When you first meet him as a guy, and he's such a professional dude. But it was there in the story, in the pages, and those scenes were really nice. There were beautiful days on set where it was just Mel and Andrew and I and a foxhole. We're just getting to the humanity of it. You know, making
that sounds like an amazing.
It was.
Day on
I mean,
set.
what a privilege, you know, and just sitting there, kind of deciding, well, what's the closest thing to crying is laughing. Maybe we'll put some laughter in this in a bit. You know, just like really playing and seeing what happened and finding the truth that way. They were the most rewarding days of work of acting I've ever had.
Vince, you're a sergeant. You're a badass sergeant. You are mean. How did you inhabit this character? But you know what? Let me backtrack. You're not really mean. I think you're doing what you feel that is your calling. You're preparing men for battle.
You're right, and especially in this circumstance, because you're going to actually take these kids over to war. So it's the job of the sergeant to make them as prepared as possible, to revert to their training, not to panic. And you're trying to create that chaos. You know, I made a decision. I have a lot of military in my family. I've done a lot of stuff going over to Iraq and Afghanistan with the USO many times, so I know a lot of military people. And, you know, I just asked people what those experiences were, and I just played it from the truth that I love these boys. I felt responsible for them. So you kind of use all the things at your disposal. A sense of humor can be good because you can reach them. You're trying to bring them together. You have to be tough. And then, obviously, because of the story, it requires a very unique set of circumstances that I had never heard of the story when it first came my way. This guy who felt unbelievable to me. I was just.
And wait, let me ask. How did it come your way? Did Mel call you and say, "Hey,
I talked
I
to
need
Mel.
you
They
to
came
read
to
this?"
me with the script and the offer, and I thought the movie was incredible. And Mel's my favorite director. I mean, you know, Passions, Braveheart, and that Apocalypto movie was just on a whole other level.
Apocalypto's like, yeah, that's
it was so pioneering. So knowing that he was at the helm of this story that was actually about something. You know, nowadays, if something doesn't have an obvious sequel or a franchise opportunity, they kind of throw it out. So it was very special to get a movie that's about a real person who was true to their convictions, a human story that you could participate in, and knowing that you're going to have a great director involved was really exciting. And then the character got to do a lot in the movie, you know, as everyone does, you know, kind of reacting to this guy, learning he means what he says, he's true to his convictions, and, you know, ultimately forming a bond like a lot of these guys through this horrible experiences. That bond is something that's very special.
And Mel, I love two things about the movie. One, I think it is one of the most visceral odes to nonviolence I have ever seen. And the trajectory that this guy goes through of this sort of bucolic childhood, obviously with a father that is less than bucolic, and then to be thrust into hell. How did you transition that as a director?
Well, I don't think you transition that. You simply introduce Norman Rockwell to Hieronymus Bosch. And you put them up against each other, hard edge, and the juxtaposition of that very thing. It's what must have been in an era that was less complicated and more innocent and more naive, to actually throw them into hell is kind of a shock. It must have been a shock to those men, and I wanted to give the audience a sense of that too, what it's like to be in that situation, so they understand what it is our veterans and even our fighting men today have to actually go through. And you'll never really understand it unless you've been there, I think, but I can give a reasonable facsimile. And that to me, and there should be a lot of attention paid to our vets today, I think.
And I know you've screened the movie for our vets, so what has been the response?
Well, we showed it to the disabled vets of America, and we had counselors on board just in case some of the combat sequences may have triggered, you know, PTSD. And of course, the film deals with PTSD in the father of Desmond, Hugo Weaving, before they had a name for it. I think it was called shell shock back then. But I was very gratified that the disabled vets, they found it cathartic, but they also found it therapeutic. And we even had a disabled vet from Afghanistan in the film.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he actually reenacted his own thing of losing his legs, because he had no legs. And he wanted to be an actor. We put him in the barracks and everything else with his prosthetics, and you didn't know he had no legs until, you know, he acted the scene where he loses his legs. Dude, you couldn't even, I mean, everybody was choked up.
Well, I mean, seeing those guys climb the rope, the what is it called? The
Cargo net?
Cargo nets.
yeah, to Hacksaw Ridge. I mean, do you guys think there's any justification for making one brigade after another go up there knowing that it's probably 99% destruction?
It was the bloodiest, the greatest loss of life in the Pacific Theater was on Okinawa, and the Almeida Escarpment, or Hacksaw Ridge, was particularly bad. So we had to portray that in a real way. I think because of the massive loss of life on Okinawa, it's probably what precipitated dropping the bomb on Japan. They didn't want to lose a lot more people. There were over 300,000 deaths in 10 weeks. That's a lot.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that's horrible.
And how did you film the death scenes? Because they are brutal. They're so hard to watch, but yet you can't not watch them.
You mean the combat scenes?
Yes.
Well, how do you film that? I mean, you get in it. You
No,
get
really, how? I mean,
Sure.
It's
you
most
plan
people
it.
can't do it.
Well, you construct. It's very. One must be clear in showing combat on film. I think almost like a sporting event. Not to make light of it, but it has to be understandable. I think there has to be a narrative even in that. So within that canvas of order, there has to be chaos, so that you can follow it. How do we film it? I mean, you talk with your camera guys, you do storyboards, you get concepts, ideas, what you want it to look like, what you want it to sound like. Your actors help. You know, there's a shot where Luke does this thing, and it's like retinal retention. He actually, it's a weird thing he does with a hand grenade. It's so weird looking, but it works, right? Yeah. And you see this it's like, whoa, it's just the little things you do to make it work and the angles you choose. We got in the dirt. I mean, the battlefield was only about 100 meters by 75 meters. It was a small area, but it looked vast. And that's choosing your angles. And boy, that requires the help of every department. The artistic design of the set design, the camera guys, the actors, the extras, the stunt guys, the special effects people. A lot of the effects were on set, some were afterwards, but it's the earmark of great special effects. If you can't tell where the real ones and maybe...
You actually can't.
You can't, so that's good work.
I do have to ask, as a New Yorker, the rats.
Rats, yes. Well, you have rats here. Really? Big rats.
Yeah, you have some pretty sizable species in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're nice. Well, we raised them ourselves. They were nice rats. They were friendly. Yeah, absolutely. They wouldn't come out of their trailers. They wanted more peanut butter. It's terrible.
Vince, who had the bigger trailer, the rats or you?
You know, this was an independent film, like when you know, it was really getting everything on screen. When Mel says the field, it was remarkable. It was no bigger than a football field, and when you see the movie, it looks so vast and so expansive, and it's really a testament to Mel and sort of how he shot that. I mean, and seeing it, you can appreciate just the vastness that you feel in watching it, but everything was very limited. You know, as Mel said, it was truly an independent movie. It was a huge undertaking for the kind of epic scale that the film is.
Mel, was it more liberating for you shooting it independently as opposed to having the $500 million budget and 900 voices weighing in on what they want and the way films are made now?
It's always good to have more money on a film. There are restrictions, but it does put you, it tests your mettle as a director. How are you going to get something in 59 days with a budget of like less than what I had for Braveheart 20 years ago? I mean, it's hard, man, and half the time, So it does put, and they're not going to give you the budget unless the main guy's wearing spandex these days. So, if your superhero happens to be a man who really existed and he's just in army fatigues, I don't know. It was independent. Absolutely, Vince is right. It was it's a mid-range independent film.
Luke, you look great in spandex in the movie, by the way. Your military spandex garb, 2 thumbs up, man. For each of you actors, what was the toughest and/or most memorable scene to film?
I mean, it's all tough acting-wise, trying to find the truth there. I mean, there's a couple of scenes where in the barracks where I'm not too nice to Andrew's character. I'm kind of a bit of a bully, and yeah, I took a long shower that night to try and wash the scumbag off me. But then there's also, I had those amazing scenes in the foxhole with Andrew where we have kind of a realization of.
Oh man, that was a beautiful scene.
Yeah, they're really, really special. And then you've got the whole battle sequence, which is running around and falling over for 10 hours a day for 2 months, kind of thing. So it's all a challenge that way, but it was all the most exciting and most fun stuff I've ever done in that way. Working with this guy was the greatest experience I've ever had. He's such a warm, inviting, infectious character. The energy and the love he has for telling stories, you can't help but be brought in about that. And the confidence he gives you, the trust he has in you as an actor, and the collaboration that you have was honestly, I can't say enough about it. So the whole experience for me was something I'll never forget. And I still pinch myself that I was involved in this movie and part of telling this amazing story. It was all a challenge, but it was all the most rewarding things I've ever done.
Yeah, in tribute to both these actors, great actors, they made some very subtle transitions in these characters that were hard to do because they start off like being pretty unsympathetic. Yeah. And it's done without words. Yeah. Both Smitty and Sarge, they both kind of make this change that's kind of, and it's believable, and it's not just kind of, thrown in for token reasons. Anyway.
And what about you, Vince?
What about me, which?
Memorable and or more challenging.
I had a lot of fun. I mean, the stuff was challenging, but you're just committed at that point. So, you're just kind of doing it. And we actually had a lot of laughs and had a lot of fun doing it. Mel was encouraging. You could hear him laughing behind the monitor. You take that as a good sign, in most cases anyway. But he had good ideas. We had a lot of fun collaborating. We'd play around with scenes. He'd give you, good notes and stuff. And, Andrew Garfield's tremendous. He's a terrific actor, has a lot of dignity in the part. And Hugo Weaving, for me, was kind of a surprise. I wasn't in the part of the film that he was. He was terrific. And the whole movie just, I think whenever you're working on material like this, it's easy to kind of commit and be invested in it. And then it's also, I think, you gotta have some laughs and joke around and have some lightness too, because it's so intense.
And Mel, I wanted to ask you, I told you backstage Apocalypto is one of my all-time favorite movies just because it's so much about the capacity of man's cruelty to other men, to other humans, I should say, not men. What is it about that interests you?
Well, I think we're tested. Our mettle is tested as human beings, our souls, our hearts, our minds, of what is it that we can achieve as a species? And I'd like to examine that. And usually we only reach that point in desperation. So that, conflict, war, or, just a foot chase like Apocalypse, it kind of brings out who we are. And I think I gravitate toward those inspirational stories of people who deal with that courageously, even though they're terrified, and triumph over it in some way. And they have to reach another realm of existence. And I think we all have to do that in this day and age. The world is like going crazy right now.
Sure.
And you have to transcend a lot of the human condition, that the filth that we live amongst, it's not an easy time to live, I think. Well, no time really has been. But it's just inspirational to me to focus on those characters who make a difference and transcend their condition to do something divine. I love that.
To go above and beyond who they are.
Absolutely.
To be their best self.
Yeah, and maybe we can all do that. And that's inspirational to me and to others.
For you guys, you just brought up that there was a lot of levity on set, despite the very heavy subject matter. Did you guys have any kind of boot camp, and I use boot camp in quotes, going in? And did you have some memorable nights out to kind of leave it behind?
Well, we were all prepared for a real intense boot camp. Everyone kind of came in. I was ready for sleeping in bunks and getting a cold water splashed on me at 5 a.m. But, as Vince said before, we put all the money in front of the camera. But we did have a good week and a half with a guy called John Isles, who's in the Special Forces in Australia, who we just kind of crammed about drill, their weapons, the kind of tactics used, and did all that kind of stuff. And it was a good thing for the platoon as well. Like a real natural brotherhood emerged from basically the first day. Everyone was so committed to this movie in that way. So it all worked out that well. But yeah, we had some fun times. It was a fun movie. That pulse. Life is fun and life is funny, even though you're talking about these hectic and insane kind of situations. It was fun, and we had these beautiful moments. Mel would come up between takes, and you'd see him walking over from the monitors, and you'd expect him to give you some real serious kind of direction on something, and he'd just tell you a joke about falafels or something like that. It was like, You just start laughing. You go, okay, let's do it again. And you just kind of collect yourself and then go, all right, yeah, let's do it. And that life, that pulse, that really comes through, you know, because otherwise it gets a bit too much, you know, and life's not like that. Life is fun.
What's the falafel joke?
Well, if I want him to feel good, so if he feels awful, I don't know.
Stuff like that.
Stupid stuff,
Oh, I think it's great. Yeah. And what about you, Vince? What was the experience like for you?
We had fun. You know, I would go, Andrew, Mel, and myself would go out a lot and have dinner on like Saturdays, I think. And so I've told this story, and I think Andrew has. But on Halloween came around, and we thought, well, let's go out for Halloween. So I bought some kind of goofy masks and some gold chains. There was no cohesiveness with the stuff that we were wearing. But Mel had this exceptional mask that was done by a professional. It looked like a real person, maybe Nick Nolte, but it looked like a real person.
This close, you can't tell. This close, you can't.
You can't tell. I mean, it looks like it doesn't look like a mask. It looks like Nick Nolte is in the room with you.
It looks like a pissed off lumberjack.
Did the paparazzi pick up on this?
Well, no, I think that's what he would do. He could wear that, and they would know where he was. I said, I think that's what you could do. You could walk out of a hotel, and people would say maybe Nick Nolte's walking in a hotel, but they wouldn't know it was you. But we went out on Halloween, and so we went out to like restaurants and stuff, and Mel was there with this mask that looks like a real human being, right? And we're kind of in these ghoul masks, whatever, but he has this on, and he'd be talking to somebody, they'd be having a conversation, and all of a sudden, but it didn't look like he had a mask on. It just looked like this was a real person. So then he would grab at his neck, and he would rip his face off as far as their perspective was, and you would see them go, oh my gosh, this isn't who I think I'm looking at, and then, oh my goodness, it's Mel Gibson underneath this. And that would elicit quite a big response. And that did not get old. We enjoyed that. That was a fun Halloween.
This just kept going.
A few times, not too much, but a couple
times.
Do it
a bunch. I'd like to see people's minds walk away. It's like, funny.
Mel,
you
that's
had a funny
amazing.
story.
I wish we could like reenact it right now.
You had a funny story, Mel, where you did it to a friend of yours who was like a stunt guy or something? Or?
Oh, yeah. No, he was a friend of mine. He was a third Dan black belt. I was talking to him 1 minute. He turned away. I put it on. 2 seconds later, he turned back. He looked at me, and he just went, ugh, and he punched me in the face. Like, he did really hard, too. I hit the deck, but I was laughing so hard, it was worth the hit. It was just like, it was the best reaction I've ever seen.
And last question before we go to the audience. Who looked the sexiest in their fatigues?
Right here, come on. You got the Bracinator.
This guy. Luke, yeah. We got tall dark, and handsome. Thank you very much.
Tall drink of water
but
there.
I think we know where your eyes, this guy was dazzling on the big screen that way. And he's also very nice and down to earth. That's for all you ladies out there. We're going to turn this into a real-life Tinder situation. You can walk up to Luke, and you can either swipe his face, or you can just kind of hold his face and say, let's hook up later.
That's awesome. Audience, please.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see this movie. Thank you guys for being here. Mel, I read somewhere that you said when you direct a film, your personality tends to kind of shine through and be reflected in the project. So I was wondering for each of you, what do you feel of you sort of resonated in the film, and as an experience, what will you carry forward with you as you do future projects?
It's a great question. I mean, I responded to the character of Doss. I don't think I'm like him, but I want to be like that, you know? I mean, I want to have that kind of unshakable faith, and I want to be able to stand by my convictions and stick to my guns, pardon the expression, but it's, you know, I look at that, and that's what I aspire to be. And so I think, you know, for a want and looking into a situation and just the rhythm and the character and everything that happens, I think, has your personality. It's intrinsic. I mean, you know, I'm the one putting it together. It's got my rhythms and it's got my sensibilities all over it. I can't even tell you how exactly, but it's there. You can't not be there somehow. A film kind of makes itself in one way, and the camera has a brain and all this kind of stuff, but you leave a piece of yourself on everything you do, I hope.
It was a big thing for me in seeing Mel approach the material that, you know, the love story in the movie is really magical. Teresa's great, Palmer, but it's so innocent. And then there's some really funny moments that are just really comedic moments. So it was interesting to see someone as talented as Mel not be so try-hard, meaning not treating every moment like it's the most important thing that ever happened, letting the moments be fun and innocent. So that was one of the things that I think I took away from the movie, was to let moments be fun and be what they are, and not push them so hard to try to have a false importance.
Yeah, I found it. I come from a really masculine culture in Australia. I'm from Sydney, and I wanted to be a rugby player and a builder, and that's what I was going to do with my life. And I come from that kind of community, that kind of society. And I found it really interesting to see at what point does a man go from telling another man to harden up to then say to empathize with him. You know, at what point does that happen? I found that kind of exploration really interesting, and you know, finding out why men put on these masks of masculinity and where that comes from. And we have a lot of fears. Everyone has fears of being, you know, alone or scared or whatever it is. So I found that exploration fun, you know, that mask of that tough guy and where that comes from and why we put that on.
Next question, please.
Hi, guys. My question's for Mel. Andrew Garfield's getting a lot of praise for this movie, rightfully so, it looks like.
I agree, yeah.
So he should.
Tremendous, yeah.
So my question is, during filming, did he do anything that surprised you or maybe like exceeded your expectations of him?
He exceeded my expectations every day. And when a talented actor like Andrew comes to work and he's all tooled up, he's ready to go. You kind of have to stand back and let him do his stuff, and if it's not broke, you don't fix it. And my I think direction with Andrew was pretty minimal. Like, hey, could you do it a little faster? Maybe. You know, you just let these guys do their shtick, and you know, because I hired the right people. See, that makes a big difference. Some people you have to help more than others, but not these guys. Not Luke, not Vince, not Andrew, and you know, Sam Worthington was amazing in this film. I think it's the best he's ever been. And Hugo Weaving, my God, you can't tell Hugo what to do. He just brings his game, you know. And you think, okay, Hugo, thanks. Worth every second.
I remember days on set with Andrew where, you know, there'd be a bunch of us around and do some barrack scenes, and at the end of the day, everyone would just go up to him and shake his hand and say thank you. Like, to be able to watch him, to work for 10 hours a day and just have this amazing thing, everyone was just so engrossed. Every single day we got to work with him. We'd literally go up and shake his hand and say thanks. That was amazing to watch.
And last question, please.
Hey, everyone. I saw that the composition was recorded in Abbey Studios, and I wanted to know how involved you were in that, and Vince, go Cubs.
Big game tonight. I'm glad to see that you have your head on straight. Thank you for that.
Oh, the score. Well, it was interesting that we were up against the wall with the score, and we got a guy called Rupert Gregson-Williams, and I heard, and he did a lot of scores, you know, on Adam Sandler movies and stuff, but it didn't seem like, you know, that's the right arena for this. But then I heard a score that he did for that Tarzan movie, and it was a pretty nice score. And so we got him in, but he was up against it. So just let me tell you about the magic trick this guy pulled out, he pulled out of his hat. From the time he watched the rough cut to the time the film was finished, mixed with an entire score on it. He'd written the score, he'd gone to Abbey Road to record it with the London Symphony Orchestra. From the time he saw a rough cut with no music on it to the time that it was scored and mixed with a score was 5 weeks.
Wow.
5 weeks. And there's like 78 minutes of music in there. It's a symphony, so this guy's good.
Well,
and
just
it's a good score.
Just put it in perspective. How long does it normally take?
Oh, 6 weeks. No, it takes longer. No, honestly, you'd engage someone like that for 4 months. Okay. But he did it in 5 weeks.
You guys, this movie is out of control spectacular. It opens tonight in New York and LA.
Yes, and then it goes wide after, on the 4th of November.
Everyone see it. It will be worth your time.
Yes,
Thank you
so
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, guys.